Is it true that most women say they want a man to protect and provide?
Yes.
Yes.
I would say yes.
Yes, that is very true.
Yeah, 100%. You want to feel comfortable with your lover. You want to make sure that they can protect you.
What if I told you the idea of men protecting and providing is a social construct reinforced by the patriarchy?
It's probably true.
I definitely see that standpoint, but I also think it goes back into our primitive instincts, right? Like hunters and gatherers. So the more dainty, not as muscular build people, which typically are women, were the gatherers and stayed at home, and the men went out and they hunted. So I think that's kind of how that whole social construct began. It's kind of in our DNA. It's almost primitive.
If patriarchy is bad, why do women still expect that from men?
Is patriarchy bad, or are feminists just telling us it's bad?
I don't believe the patriarchy is a thing. I believe the matriarchy is a thing. We live in a Western world where women are the biggest voting bloc. Women are the biggest spending bloc. Women have a majority of the debt, and women raise the next generation. That is the exact definition of what a matriarchy would be.
It's a tough question because I personally am against the patriarchy, but then there's also some social constructs of relationship roles that I'm okay, yeah, I actually do value that traditional kind of standpoint.
Why do women only complain about patriarchy when they are competing with men?
I would never compete with a man.
Because women can't have it all. Even though they say that they can have it all, they cannot have it all.
Why is it when it comes to the job market we must be inclusive, but in the dating market it's purely competition?
Because it's the hottest survive.
I feel like there definitely is a lot of double standards in both roles. I feel like it just depends on the relationship per se, because I feel like I have met some men that aren't as masculine or, protecting as others. So I feel like it really just depends on the person as well, but I understand where you're coming from.
There's all this talk about creating a more fair and equitable society. What determines in life what should be a competition and what should have equal outcomes?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Equal outcome is laughable. That is not a thing that is possible and achievable, and everything is competition. Everything. Equity is for children and participation trophies, not grown-ass adults.
Why do women want equality in everything except for dating?
I wish I knew, but what's wrong with us?
Oh, they don't even want equality in everything but dating. They're not even close. They don't want to pick up the garbage on the side of the road. They don't want to go die in the draft. They don't want to pay for bills. They don't want to lift heavy stuff. They don't want to squish spiders. They don't want to be treated equal for pay when they have to work as many hours, work as late in life, miss as much family functions for their job. And also, if women stopped and left the workplace, the HR department would disappear.
Do women give all men an equal shot, or do they prefer to choose the best and most qualified?
We prefer to choose the richest.
The same way a man would choose which girl he wants to go after.
Yeah, that's true. And it's mostly by looks. It's definitely not anything else.
Do women give all men an equal shot, or do they prefer to choose the best and most qualified?
No, the majority of women do not give all men equal shots. Unfortunately, you do have those simple-minded women or those gold diggers that want to reach for the upper echelon. My thing is, instead of chase the bag, help your mate to get the bag.
So why are women economically socialist but romantically capitalist?
I think because they're looking for that catch, that big fish. That's someone that can pay the bills and mortgage and supply them and wine and them and dine them. Not all women, but a majority. If you don't have it, they're not going to talk to you.
Why is it when it comes to the job market we must be inclusive, but in the dating market it's purely competition?
Because I think you still want to find the best person for you, and
Doesn't a boss want to find the best employee for his company?
yeah, and he should.
But they're forced to hire people they don't necessarily want to hire.
Well, and that's not right. I don't necessarily think that you should hire somebody just because they fill a box that of equality. I think you should still be finding the best person for the job.
Since dating is considered a marketplace, how high would women's standards have to be, and how much competition would there have to be before men are willing to decide it's no longer worth it?
Well, I feel like the follow-up question would that to be, do women compete with women more, or do men compete with men more?
Women compete with each other for the top 10, 12, 8% of men. The average man that's working the Taco Bell counter, that's working the grocery store register, that's driving the bus, he can no longer get an average woman. Women want that top 10, that top tier, that top echelon man. They want that 8, 9, 10 man, even though they're an adjustable 6 at best.
What do you think about the men who choose to remain bachelors?
It's funny because I probably have that mindset this day and age. I just turned 44 today. Today is my birthday. But when I was in my early 20s, I thought about marriage and settling down. But now it's like the bachelor life is better. You know, people out here getting married and getting divorced a couple months later. So until you find true love and happiness, there's nothing wrong with being a bachelor.
You know, they might wake up one day at 50 and be completely happy. They might wake up at 50 and be like, I don't have any kids, like I'm missing something, and I know that's something you have to figure out through your life.
I want to say, or they've gone through it before, they've been married, got divorced, and they're like, you know what, I'd rather live the bachelor life.
Yeah.
And enjoy my life, you know?
If you've got a little black book of 3, 4, 5, 6 women that you can call, take care of everything you need on that Friday. Maybe you have one that dresses up nice and comes to the company picnic with you. Maybe you've got one that's just down and dirty and shows up in a high heels and a trench coat. Why would you give that up for marriage when you're going to get divorced? She's going to take the kids. She's going to take your money, and she's going to destroy you. There is no net benefit today for men to get married.
If sex wasn't a need, wouldn't men boycott these women rather than be forced to simp for them?
Yes, but sex is a need, and it will always be a need, so...
Why do the majority of young women happen to be left-leaning woke liberals?
Because it benefits them to be that way. Conservatism is about personal responsibility and decision-making, and women culturally avoid responsibility like it's kryptonite. Any excuse to pass the blame off onto anybody else, that's what they do. Women, they just don't want to be accountable. They just want to be victims of the big bad man, of the big bad culture, and they just want to avoid personal responsibility.
Women of today have been kind of seeing in the news what the government is doing to women, and they disagree with that. And so I think we are considered woke liberals because we're like, we disagree with a lot of what the conservative party wants to do to women, like take away rights, and they want to kind of contain us and treat us like we're lesser than, and we don't want things taken away from us.
How is liberal women wanting handouts from the government different than conservative women wanting men to take care of them?
A fair exchange. Conservative women want men to take care of them because it's a mutually beneficial, independent relationship where they make a mutual agreement to meet each other's needs, wants, and desires, whereas those women just living off the tax dollars, there's no mutually beneficial relationship. They're leeching, they're sucking off the tit of the taxpayer, and oftentimes not giving back anywhere near close to the resources they absorb.
If men choose to no longer marry, does that mean these women will look to the government to support them instead?
I don't know. I guess that's a question you'd have to ask them, I suppose, on who they're going to want to be their sugar daddy, if it's going to be Uncle Sam when they don't have... I don't think people will ever stop getting married, though.
Eventually, the money's going to dry up. It's going to dry up. You can't give every unmarried old cat lady money. There's just not enough money anymore. The government's been taking money with overtaxation, compelled parental responsibility from men as long as they have. And once men stop marrying, stop having children out of wedlock, and if they just pay their child support, all these women, when they turn 40, 45, 50, as much as they say now they'll be happy, they're not going to be happy with no family, no husband, no children, and 4 or 5 cats running around.
Are women by nature more socialist because they want to be provided for?
Yes. Women want everything they can get, every handout, because it's easier and it's what they're used to. I mean, let's be honest, fellas, if we were a 16-year-old woman and we spent 5, 6, 7 years with people giving us everything we wanted just simply for existing, that would be a hard behavior to break. Be a real hard behavior to break. That's why when the wall comes, 30, 32, 33, somewhere in that, these women are panicking because they've never had to be responsible, never had to earn really anything. It's been just given to them simply because they're pretty and they look nice, and men will do anything to get the attention of a pretty woman.
Are they more socialist because women are more collective, hive-minded?
Yeah, well, you have to stick together. I mean, I guess if you feel like you're being held down, then you've got to band together with the other people who are in your corner.
Women will lie to each other in protection of the group, in protection of the subset. Women will lie. You will say Lizzo is a 10 when Lizzo is not a 10. You will lie and say, go girl, you got that. You should divorce that man when you know you shouldn't. Women will lie to protect each other, to promote each other, to tear each other down, because it's all about feelings above facts.
What's the difference between feminist women shaming men for being masculine versus traditional women shaming men for not being masculine enough?
A traditional feminist doesn't shame a man for being masculine. They shame men for having toxic masculinity, which is going, yeah, I have to do this and I have to do that because I'm a man, and you can't do this because you're a woman. That's toxic masculinity. Being comfortable in your masculinity is going, yeah, I'm a man and maybe I work out, but I work out because I want to be healthy, or I do like looking really jacked, but it's for me. It's not because I have to because I'm a man, And
I think feminist, left-leaning, liberal women do it to tear men down and to talk about how men ain't shit, even though men tamed the world, created all the luxuries that everybody enjoys, and will keep the infrastructure running. Women want to act like men ain't shit. Those leftist liberal women do. I think the more conservative women, they're doing it kind of as a cross between they don't know how to do it the right way, but almost with the intent to help motivate a man because they don't know a better way.
Can you define minimalism?
Yeah, so my kitchen is minimalistic, and that means there's basically nothing in my kitchen.
Minimalism is just having enough to meet all your basic needs and very, very few wants. You don't need a 4-bedroom house. You want it. You don't need the newest, fanciest iPhone. You want it. You don't need that giant SUV. You want it. The reality isn't today you need a cell phone. The reality is almost everybody needs a car. But we go bigger, better because because it's a competition to have the newest, biggest, baddest, best. Also because it flexes and shows to women what we got.
Can a man be a minimalist and still be attractive to most modern women?
If he's minimalistic in the sense that it should be, like thinking of the environment and thinking of the impact, and do I really need this? And am I going to sell this at, am I paying quality or am I buying shit and then having to replace it?
Most, no. Very, very, very few women are going to like a man that doesn't have drip, that doesn't have a nice fancy car. Women aren't going to like a guy that lives under the bridge. They're not going to like a guy that rents a room in a basement. They're not going to like a guy that drives a car from 1984 with 250,000 miles on it and eats a foot-long Subway sandwich for dinner every night before playing Madden.
How large is the carbon footprint of keeping most modern Western women happy?
It's basically comparable to Bigfoot's paw print.
27 pairs of shoes, the biggest car, all the nice purses, the makeup, the hair, the nails, the hair products. It's absurd.
Are we talking like mainstream women or like me? Because you might assume by my perception that I am a materialistic woman, yet I was a farmer of an organic USDA certified farm for a year, and a hemp farmer for 2 years, and a CBD processor for 2 years.
Why do you rarely see women call out other women for being materialistic?
Maybe women are less judgy.
I feel like I see that all the time. Like, everyone talks shit about the Kardashians.
Because women are materialistic.
Since dating is considered a marketplace, how high would women's standards have to be, and how much competition would there have to be before men are willing to decide it's no longer worth it?
For it to no longer be worth it to date a woman?
I don't think that will ever happen because men love women way too much.
Speaking from a man point of view, I'm gonna say it's always worth it. Like,
why?
Because to me anyway, that's my only option is a woman. So it's like I'm gonna do what I need to do to keep one around. You know what I'm saying?
The standards would have to get ridiculously high for them to turn away from women entirely. But I do think if they got that high, yeah, there is a possibility of it because, nature will always find a way. I mean, look at prison populations where men become gay when they can't get access to women. Like, your sex drive is your sex drive. You're going to find an outlet one way or another.